I quit exercise for 100 days. And here's what happened. If you're new here, hello my honeys. My name is Emmie. I'm a nutritionist and the creator of the Slim on Starch program, where you work with me as well as a mindset coach and a nutrition coach to lose weight on a plant-based diet. If you want to do that, click the link in the down bar. I've been a runner my entire life. Growing up, when I was a kid, I would ask my parents if I could go for runs around the block. So, you know that argument about, are people born crazy or do they become crazy? I put that one to rest. Anyway, jokes aside, back in 2021, I decided that I needed a break from physical movement. I had never really given myself a true break from daily exercise. I had in high school, that was over a decade ago. Between track seasons and soccer seasons, we were forced by our coaches, to take 2 weeks as off. 2 weeks. I promise I have a diploma from high school and I went to college and graduated with nearly a 4.0. I got 1 A- in all of my 4 years, but we're not talking about that right now. But that one professor that gave me the A- and kept me from being valedictorian, I will remember you. I do remember you and I will find you. I had never given my body a break from physical movement, ever, really. I mean, even since I was a kid, I was a crazy person running around the block at age 5. So I stopped running and I stopped walking. I stopped all movement completely. I did nothing. And I committed to 100 days of zero movement. And I'm going to tell you exactly what happened in those 100 days and after those 100 days. We're going to talk about how I felt physically, how I felt mentally, how I felt emotionally, any weight changes, and how I got back into exercise. Now, I did this about a year and a half ago, and I didn't talk about it online or with anybody really besides my close family who would notice. You know, my boyfriend would be like, oh, you wake up in the morning, oh, you're not going to go for a run? No, I told him, I said, I'm taking some time off. I feel like my body just needs a little bit of time off. I didn't tell him, I didn't tell anybody that I had set this 100-day goal for myself. So how did I feel physically? I was exhausted. One would think that when you go from running 6 miles a day to doing nothing, no walking, not a lick of movement, that you would feel like you had all the energy in the world. Oh my gosh, you're so well rested. No, my body said, okay, finally we can rest, and it took advantage of it. In that first week, I was sleeping 11 hours a night because my body had so much to catch up on. And it reminds me of when I work with my clients and they start eating this way, they start feeling so good and they say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how badly I was feeling before, now that I'm actually feeling really great. And my similar experience was, wow, I didn't realize how tired my body truly was, because it was probably just so used to this movement every day that it didn't know to ask for rest until my conscious brain came in and said, I think this body needs a little bit of rest. So I was exhausted and I didn't do any walking or anything. I actually took the hour that I used to spend running and I spent it on the couch reading, which I'm going to talk about next. So mentally, how was I feeling mentally? When we talk about mental health, we're talking about the thoughts that you're having. I'm not talking about emotional health, which I'm going to talk about after I talk about mental health. So the mental side of things was looking at my thought patterns. I went into this with a very strong thought pattern as my foundation. There's something called the exercise paradox. The exercise paradox states that even if you run 10 miles a day versus if you just have a normal day in the life, your body is going to be pretty similar in how many calories it burns during the course of the day. Because when you go on a run, let's say, what your body will do the rest of the day is downgrade the amount of calories that it burns through other mechanisms in the body to make up for all the calories that were burned during the exercise. So I know many people think, oh, if you stop exercising, you're going to gain a bunch of weight. And that's not logical thinking because of the exercise paradox. If you want to learn more about the exercise paradox, I'm very happy to do an entire dedicated video on this. Just comment and I will absolutely deliver that. But going into this knowing about the exercise paradox, I wasn't worried about weight gain. I wasn't worried about any adverse physical effects that I was going to see because I knew that the productivity of the rest and recovery that I was providing for my body was exactly what it needed. And actually, during this time, my logical thinking, my thoughts, my brain improved dramatically during this time because I spent that hour that I usually spend out running on the couch reading. When I was reading, I was learning and I was exploring topics that I'd never explored before and reading fiction books, reading nonfiction books. So I added 100 hours of reading into my year last year. So my logic and my brain health expanded during this time. Now, I know that a lot of people don't have this line of thinking that if they say, oh my gosh, if I stop exercise, I'm going to get fat. Well, in my program, I do not prescribe exercise to my clients. I don't force my clients to exercise because exercise is not the key to weight loss. Exercise is a way to maintain health in the long term from a cardiovascular standpoint and to keep your blood pressure low and to improve your blood sugar, blood glucose levels. But it's not going to be something that's going to burn excess calories to get you to burn fat and lose weight if your diet is junk. So if you are having trouble believing this, you have to do something that I tell my clients to do within the program who come to me and they're nervous about eating carbs, they're nervous about not doing their HIIT workouts anymore. I say, you can't think your way into acting. You have to act your way into thinking, which means you're not going to believe that something is true until you have the concrete evidence that you've taken that action and now you believe that it's true, i.e. eating carbs. I could sit with a new client all day long and I could tell them the 1,000,001 reasons why carbs are not going to make them fat. But ultimately, what has to happen is the client just has to feel the fear and do it anyway, jump in, take the action, get the evidence. Okay, she wasn't lying to me because now I have the hardcore evidence. Now I believe her. My emotional health. This is a really interesting one. And I'm going to try to not get emotional, but you know when you say that and then you start to feel the tears welling up, but I don't cry on this channel. I only became emotional once ever on this channel, and it was when I was talking to my client, Dan, and you can watch that interview. I'll link that interview at the end of this one, and you can see why I did get emotional in it. Anyway, during this time, this was back in 2021, it was April of 2021, I decided, I was like, all right, now's the time. My sweet, sweet tiger. So as I said, I started reading during this time that I would normally spend when I was running. And for that first week, I came down and I would read in the mornings and Tiger would sit on my lap. And I came down one morning about a week into my not running and I found Tiger on the ground and it didn't appear that he was breathing. There was bile all over the ground. And so I brought him to the hospital and he was in the ICU for a few days. And he didn't make it. And the way that I would have normally coped with that was through running. And I had committed to resting. And so I wasn't able to push that feeling away of loss. And so I had to sit with it, literally. I had to sit. I couldn't run away from that feeling and go run and numb out. And I'm grateful because I was able to sit with the feeling, fully process the grief, sit with my little bear who was also grieving, and make more room in my heart for Versace, who we ended up getting a little bit later on, 6 months later. But similar to what my clients go through, I know that food is something that in particular my clients use food to numb out their feelings. And the bravery and vulnerability that comes with not turning to that allows you to fully process these things and work through them. And had I not done that, I don't know if I would have ever been able to accept that Tiger is not with us. Oh my gosh. These cats, like, why do our animals do this to us? The chokehold these cats have on me. But I say this to say, with my clients who use food as a stress reliever, something that they turn to in these emotional times, I so get it, because 1 week into the one thing that I would always use to regulate my emotions, I lose my kitten. My kitten passes away tragically, traumatically. I find him on the ground with his bile all over. It was awful. And to not have running to be able to numb that out, I could have just gone for a run and numbed out that feeling that morning. But I said, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm going to be brave and I'm going to step into this horrible feeling. I'm going to sit with it. So when I encourage my clients to do that scary work, I can relate because I have been there. My thing was running. And I feel now I've grown so much because not only was I able to really sit with and process the grief that came with Tiger, but I don't rely on something else to numb out emotions. I feel that I have the emotional strength to be able to sit through difficult emotions and not run away from them. And so with my clients that regulate with food, I get it. Sitting with those emotions is so difficult, but it's what you need to grow. Weight changes. Did I experience any weight changes? I don't weigh myself, so... But you know from the exercise paradox that weight changes are not something that's typically seen. If anything, what I see when people lay off the exercise is they're not as hungry, and usually you do lose a little bit of muscle mass. So I likely did lose a little bit of muscle mass during that time. How did I ease back into running? I was so excited to get back into it. I can't even tell you. When I wasn't running, I would go on drives, and it was when the weather was getting warmer too. I was like, of course I chose the worst time to do this. But I would go on drives and I would see young girls especially out running, and I would say, oh, what I would do to be out there running. And then finally my time came and I was able to begin running again. And I did start running again, was so excited for it. But I made a mistake, and I decided with heading back into running that I wasn't going to go back to running 6 miles a day. That wasn't sustainable. I want to be able to run for the rest of my life. And running 6 miles a day, at least for me and my body, for the long term, it's just too much. And I don't think it will promote long-term health for me. Half of that is going to be totally sustainable. 3 miles a day, yes, I can do that for the rest of my life. So I said, okay, I'm going to do 3 miles a day now. That's going to be my thing. I can get it done in under a half hour. I can run quickly. I could do a 5K if I wanted to. I could time myself. I could not time myself. I could find some new loops. 3 miles. That's what I'll do. And so I said, okay, I'm back. 3 miles. So I go out and I do my 3 miles. I am killing it. I run so fast. The next day, my knees were shot. And I thought I was going to be just fine because 3 miles, that seemed like nothing compared to running 6 miles every day. And what I realized is I really needed to ease back into this because I wasn't doing anything. Honeys, I sat on my couch all day, on my couch at my desk, but I didn't do any movement for 100 days. So what I really needed to do first was walk and get my legs used to working again before I ran 3 miles. If I would do it again, I would start out by just walking, and I would work my way up to 3 miles of walking, and then I would do 1 mile of jogging, 2 miles of walking, 1.5 miles of jogging, 1.5 miles of walking, and ease my way back up to 3 miles. What I do now is I run 3 miles every day. I also walk on top of the 3 miles, and I do some strength training, and I love it. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. If you want to check out the only other video I've ever gotten emotional in, it's going to pop up on the screen. I love you, honeys, and I will see you in my next video. I just remembered there's another video that I got emotional in with my parents. They also have a chokehold on me. I'm going to link that one at the end.